Psy, a thief with psychic powers, attacks National City, able to immobilize people by tapping into their worst fears. Psy proves a formidable opponent for Supergirl. Meanwhile, James and Lena are at an impasse, and Samantha starts her new job at L-Corp. I'm going to start this review by talking about Melissa Benoist and her performance in this episode. She was phenomenal. There are a couple of scenes in this episode where she has to pull off raw emotion and pure fear, and Melissa sells it completely. You really do buy the fact that she is going through this traumatic emotional rollercoaster. I give Melissa all the props in the world for her acting this week. Speaking of those fear-inducing scenes, I have to say that the scene with Kara experiencing the death of Krypton in first person was truly mind-blowing. We have never seen anything like this on Supergirl or any Superman movie, a first-person view of the evacuation. It looked incredible with Krypton exploding all around you and seeing all of the flying debris. The effects team did an absolutely stellar job with this scene. I congratulate them till the cows come home. Once again, I will mention how much I really am enjoying the character of Samantha, aka Rain. I love how they are making her a super involved villain into the story, and who doesn't even know who she really is. She doesn't know the extent of her powers. This way, the writers are able to give her plenty of development, and that is what the villains of this show desperately need. That is what characters last season and in the first season were just crying out for, but they're finally learning a lesson, and we're getting it with Rain, and it's a perfect choice to do the first development with. Psy was the villain of the week for this episode, and she was actually pretty cool. I thought she was going to be generic, but she turns out to be a truly evil character who plays on people's fears. It was interesting to see the citizens of National City's fears, however nothing super dark ever comes out except for when it comes to Kara. But the way it leads to the standoff between Supergirl and Psy was an absolutely badass moment, and it was just a really cool scene to see them two face to face just going at it, and it was brilliant to watch. Now, the last episode we saw that Lena had purchased CatCo. This sounded like a good idea, but I really didn't like how they wrote Lena in this episode. I hope this gets rectified, because if they keep going this way, then they might just ruin the Lena character. However, I feel this may be a foreshadow for Lena's evil turn, as she will most likely team up with Rain later on in the season, and we will see her Luthor side really be brought to light, as that is most likely going to be her true nature in the end, and I could see her becoming a villain in the show's future, and I think this is what it was foreshadowing. I also wasn't a fan of Ruby in this episode. Ruby was just a typical annoying bratty kid in this episode, which I can't stand. She just would not listen to Sam, and the way she was trying to get her mother to show her powers was ridiculous, as Samantha doesn't even know she has these powers, and she doesn't even understand how to activate them or what's even happening to her body. She's just as confused as everyone else. So what is it with kids in the Arrowverse these days? First William and now Ruby? Come on, writers, it's just getting annoying at this point. Overall, I liked this episode a lot. There were a couple of shortcomings with the writing of certain characters, but it had one of the most impressive scenes I think Supergirl has had in its run. The first person's perspective of the Krypton evacuation was amazingly put together. Now we just have to wait until next week to find out what's going on with Miss Martian and John Jones. I imagine this is going to be an episode where we're going to see a lot of Mars. Potentially this is where John Jones' father, Mern Jones, comes into it. And that does excite me. We need a lot more John Jones in the show, so let's see next week.